At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Couple of 13-14 pass, Common Man Progrum. I'm Common. He's Brett Blakemore in for Teneby. Teneby returns tomorrow. Preposterous Statement Tournament, Triple V, Double I. Pairings and results again tomorrow at 1:30. Gave it extra day to vote on yesterday's offerings for you. And we're now joined by the legendary Mark Rosen.
Good afternoon.
Channel 4 Sports is your whole life just sports fame. It's so cold, isn't it?
Well, yeah, duh. But the good news is, I think, unlike winters past, I think we grew up here, spent a lot of time here, is that it's over this weekend. I mean, it's not only over this weekend, it looks like clear sailing for quite a while. Well, by the advanced forecast, I mean, it's going to be 30s, 40s, and then, pretty steady in that area for quite a while with no snow forecast. So I think it looks like, you kind of get through these next few days, and I know a lot of schools were either canceled or delayed this morning, and Brett and I were just kind of chuckling about some of that. I mean, look at that. You're a little kid. You don't want to be standing out in the bus stop. I understand it's all about bus schedules, but it's still.
You think they're soft?
I don't want to use that word.
Well, go ahead. You basically said it without saying it.
I didn't at all. No, I didn't at all. We had very, very few quote unquote snow days. I mean, I'm once in a while you'd have CCO radio on in the morning, just waiting with bated breath to hear your school name called. And that was mostly for, I think, snow related more than cold related. But this is different. It's all predicated on bus schedules. I think I understand that. So I don't know. I'm not going to judge. I don't know what, I wouldn't want my little kid standing out there for 45 minutes or so. But if you have the opportunity, then your mom or dad, and you pop them in the car and you wait for the bus to show up, and unless you have to be at work.
I say give them the day off.
Give them the day off, yeah. I think that's the thing. And that's, obviously you have X number of days.
No, I get it, son. There's daycare. Who's going to cover for your kids?
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah. But, different times.
When there was a time where, maybe your neighbor, you knew your neighbor really well, and maybe she didn't work, and you could have your kids spend the day over at the neighbor's house. That's when we were neighborhoods, when we really had neighborhoods.
100% agree. And everybody kept their doors open, and you knew everybody by name. And now it's you're lucky.
Do you know what the biggest reason for the decline of Western civilization is?
Well, there's a lot of them, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
The air conditioner.
The air conditioner. Well, I grew up without it, so I'm sure you did too. So
back in the
outside all the time.
Back in the olden days, you had a front porch.
Correct.
And so after you would have supper, it'd be so hot out. If it's 80, 85, 90 degrees in the middle of summer, you get those hot stretches.
Right.
Your house turns into an oven, speaking of dinner, right? It gets so hot, so you would go out on the front porch. Yeah. So all the families are on the front porch.
Talking to each other.
And the kids are out playing, in the sidewalk or the front yards and on the streets. They're not on the street corners spinning fortune wheel and throwing dice, right? Because the parents, hey, knock that off. Air conditioning came into an existence. Everybody stayed inside. Now there's nobody to watch over the kids and discipline them and let them do what they want. And that's what happened. That was the beginning of the decline of Western civilization. Now, it's not the only reason, but that's what started it. Because before, kids never got in trouble because you couldn't get in trouble because the parents were right outside with them.
I always find it during the middle of the summer. It could be heat wave or otherwise, but anytime I go by a neighborhood like ballpark or whatever, and I see kids playing not an organized game with coaches in uniforms, but just kind of a pickup game, it makes me smile because I think there's so few and far between anymore where, the kids get a hold of each other. Now, of course, they just text each other and say, hey, meet at the ballpark, the corner ballpark at 6:30 tonight. We're going to play. We had our over here in St. Louis Park. We had our Lawson's Field, which was kind of the backyard of about 4 neighbors, and we kind of made up our own ballpark back there and played softball. But that's what you did. I mean, anytime I see a pickup game, it brings a smile to my face.
It's very rare, though.
You just don't see it very often. Everything has to be so damn organized now.
Yep.
It is the downfall of Western civilization.
Yeah. It all started with the advent of the air conditioner.
There you go.
You're not going to hear controversial theories like that anywhere else.
No.
But noon to 3 here on the Fan. Where do you want to start today? It's Tag Day started today in the National Football League. Teams have, I think, through March 4th to place either franchise tags or transition tags. The franchise tag is the one where you throw it on a player, he gets paid the average of the top 5 at that position. Transition's different. I read it today, the exact. It's not
a lot of
it's
semantics.
Yeah, there's some other, with the transition tag, you get to match whatever they offer the team. All the other team offers, you have that opportunity to do that. I don't think there's any draft picks as compensation or anything like that. Where it is with the franchise tag, I think I have it right. But remember, I really shouldn't even be a sports radio talk show host because I don't pay very close attention. I really shouldn't have this job, but I do.
You do, and you do it damn well at it.
You almost didn't want to say it.
No, I did. It hurt me. It kind of got a shock in my system when I said it.
I saw a piece today that kind of predicted all 32 teams who they would tag, and interestingly, I bet half or more. I didn't count them, but there's nobody worth tagging on their team. There's nobody they're going to put a franchise tag on. But number 1 on that list was, do you do it with Sam Darnold or not? I think we've come to the conclusion that they're not going to do it. I came up with a wacky theory today. I don't know if you heard anything about it. I did not. My idea was, we do have the quarterback whisperer. So why not trade J.J. McCarthy? Now, stay with me.
Okay.
Because everybody has been saying that a couple of different things. KOC is a quarterback whisperer. Look what he did with Dobbs. Look what he made Cousins a better quarterback. And look what he did.
Look what he did with Dobbs.
Well, remember everybody was saying, look at
he had 1.5 good games.
But people were talking about that was all because of him.
All right. Go ahead with your theory.
He made Cousins. Everybody says that Cousins was a better quarterback under. I'm not so sure that's what people say. Yep. And then we saw what he did with Darnold. This quarterback class is it's not much, right? There's really no matter of fact. The word is, if J.J. McCarthy was available this year, he'd be the number 1 pick overall. Because last year there were 5 guys that went in the top 10. Mm-hmm. Now they said if J.J. McCarthy was available in the draft this year, he would go number 1 overall. With KOC's ability to be a quarterback whisperer, I took a look at the free agent quarterbacks that are available. There are young guys out there that are dirt cheap. $4 million, $8 million, what they made last year. So you get like a Justin Fields, for instance. You sign Justin Fields. You trade J.J. What could you get for J.J. McCarthy? You get probably a couple of 1s for him for a desperate team like the Raiders. Maybe get a 2. So now you have draft picks to add. You only have 3, now a 4 with the compensatory pick. So you would go from having a 1, 2 5s in the compensatory pick, which is really the first pick in the 4th round. You'd go from that to adding 2 1s and a 2. You still have all your salary cap money, and the quarterback whisperer takes a guy like Justin Fields, who was, what was he drafted overall? He was drafted as highly regarded with Sam Darnold. Why wouldn't that strategy work now? Because there's no guarantee on McCarthy either. So this way, you get your draft picks, you still have your salary cap money, and the quarterback whisperer coaches up another guy. Your thoughts?
I totally disagree with pretty much everything you just said. But I understand your theory.
You don't think he can coach up quarterbacks?
I don't think it's a guarantee, because you call him a quarterback whisperer doesn't mean he's waving a magic wand and is going to turn Justin Fields into a capable all-pro or just serviceable quarterback. being a quarterback whisperer just means you have the ability to potentially get the most out of that person's talent. That's all that means. It doesn't mean you're going to turn him into an all-pro.
Well, he did that for Sam Darnold. He turned Sam Darnold into a potential MVP of the season.
But you're also diminishing what Sam Darnold did on his own. I mean, Kevin O'Connell wasn't out there throwing the 98-yard pass to Justin Jefferson Darnold made that on his own. He was a high draft pick himself. He just would happen to get in the right situation. No, this is how I feel. I just think that it's, as we saw with this draft class, even starting with Caleb Williams, we know that he had, a modicum of success only because the Bears were so awful. And now he's got a new head coach, your guy, Ben Johnson, and we'll see how he develops in year 2. I thought it was a pretty special quarterback class, and you could see the effect of a Jaden Daniels had on Washington. You can see the effect that Bo Nix had on a Denver team. You don't let those guys, you don't just give those guys, I know you're not giving him away, you're getting a lot of return. But my feeling is you can't fix everything in one off season. So if anything, if the Vikings feel that J.J. McCarthy is that guy, you're for once you have a franchise quarterback for the first time in how many years, how many decades of going through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. The last thing you want to do is trade him. You want to cultivate him. You want to make him special. You want to make him the best he possibly can be. It doesn't mean the Vikings are going to turn into the Philadelphia Eagles and what Howie Roseman's done, or what it took the Lions how long to develop that offensive line and the draft picks. It wasn't one offseason. It was more than that. So my feeling is you not only keep J.J. McCarthy, you until proven otherwise. Of course, there's no guarantees, but the young man's probably going to have to do it on his own with the help of a terrific offensive coordinator in Kevin O'Connell, et cetera, Wes Phillips, that he has the right stuff to be a franchise quarterback for a long, long time. And if you give that away, then you're starting over with Justin Fields and starting over with this guy and that guy.
What about Danny Dimes? He's already on the roster.
Fine, he's a good backup.
How do you know?
I've watched him. I mean, it's like
you watch Sam Darnold too. Do you think is Sam Darnold a starting quarterback in this league or not?
Yeah. And I think you got to give Sam Darnold credit for a lot of that. I don't think you can.
That's not what I heard though from most everybody saying.
But
he was even asked about. He was asked in news conferences. You're kind of a quarterback whisperer, and he didn't shy away from.
That's fine, but I mean, you're used to some of Josh Dobbs. I'm going, come on. I mean, you drafted J.J. McCarthy for one reason, and that's to be
because the other 4 guys were already drafted.
Well, that might be true, but to have him become your franchise quarterback, and I just don't think. I think between what the Vikings can do with pretty good chunk of change to sign some free agents, hopefully defensive line, defensive back, who knows where, offensive line. You're not going to sign everybody, but you're not going to get it all done in one offseason, and then choose wisely with your draft picks. But the last thing you want to do is start over. That's just my feeling. Okay. You got J.J. McCarthy. Mm-hmm. You're not going to give him away. I don't care what.
Well, you wouldn't be giving him away.
No, I understand that, but there's no guarantee that the draft picks you get are going to be big stars in this league. Well, that's why I'm thinking the quarterback's the most important position in the NFL.
But there's no guarantee McCarthy is going to be a great quarterback. So then you don't have it.
Well, of course there's not. That's the chance. That's why
but then your quarterback isn't any good. You haven't added draft picks. You've spent all of your cap money trying to fill other positions when you could at least get a 1 and a couple of 2s for McCarthy, if not a couple.
Well, if you want to start talking about draft picks, and the reason why I think that this offseason, the Vikings traded a couple of draft picks, guess what? For a young defensive end by the name of Dallas Turner, who it's imperative for Dallas Turner. We get so anxious, like labeling. He's a flop. He was 21 years old.
All right.
And let's see if Dallas Turner, between year 1 and year 2, where you look for your biggest improvement with rookies, can have the kind of impact that the Vikings feel he has to. Otherwise, it all comes back to Kwesi. J.J. McCarthy. Then he won't be employed. I don't care what kind of a contract he's about to sign. No. The Vikings have waited too long to get a franchise quarterback.
All right.
Don't trade him.
Okay.
But I like your thinking. No, I really don't, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You like the five running backs, too.
But I understand it. The reason is because it's so out of the box and no one else is saying it. You go, I don't want to go out on that.
No, it's not that at all. I think
a complete idiot by thinking, And it's like, this is where it's like, for the longest time, they never threw the ball in football. Then somebody came up with a forward pass, and it was like, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And now all of a sudden, the forward pass has overtaken football.
I know you've looked at the list of quarterbacks the Vikings have gone through. Unlike the guy in the other room, Brett, who's had like 3 quarterbacks in 40 years. I'm exaggerating, but you know what the point is. Mm-hmm. You get a guy you think is going to be the guy. And, of course, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees about any of these guys. But I think we saw enough examples this past season of rookie quarterbacks playing way beyond anyone's expectation, I think, especially Jaden Daniels, even Bo Nix.
You don't think he's I'm beginning to think you don't think that he's a quarterback whisperer.
I think that phrase is just a little. I think KOC admittedly still has a work in progress when it comes to calling plays. If you're talking about what he's doing on a day-to-day basis with practice with him, I'm sure he's damn good at what he does, working with the quarterbacks, and that's why they brought Josh McCown in to work with the quarterbacks. That's why they brought
get Justin Fields for $4 million.
You can have him. Justin Fields.
He never had the coaching that he would get here. That's the problem. He was playing with. Where did he play? Was it
They played with the Bears.
The
Bears.
Steelers. He was backing up Russell Wilson. He couldn't even beat out Russell Wilson.
No, it was Tomlin wanting to win now. And they went in. Wilson played really well.
He did play well in spurts, but I don't think it's a given.
Matt Jones you could have for $3.8 million.
You're throwing out names that are.
Matt Jones was 15th overall. Hell of a quarterback if he's got the right coaching.
If J.J. McCarthy doesn't pan out in 2 to 3 years, and the KOC is not going to be a quarterback whisperer, he's going to be unemployed.
Okay. So I know where you're at.
Okay. On this. That's fine. That's a good conversation.
Let's take a break. We'll come back.
We'll do that.
Talk about a couple of other topics. If you think that was controversial, wait till you get a load of what I'm going to bounce off you on the other side of the break. We'll do that next. It's the legendary one with Common and Brett Blakemore and for 10 here on The Fan.
Dan.
Metallica. Earth, Wind, and Fire. And Air Supply. Couple 13-14 past Common Man Program. I'm Common. He's Brett Blakemore in for Teneby. Mark Rosen here. Saw this headline, New York Post story, Eric Richter. Mm-hmm. And these are in quotes, not entirely true, unquote, Luka Doncic injury was early sign of Mavericks bombshell trade. Reads as follows: the Mavs may have been playing games with Luka Doncic's status long before he was shockingly traded to the Lakers earlier this month. Were you more shocked by Doncic being traded to the Lakers or Washington beating Detroit in the playoffs? Which was more shocking to you?
Doncic.
The star guard was in such poor shape going into the season that Dallas used an injury in November, quote, that was not entirely true, so that Doncic could have extra time to ramp up, according to The Athletic. So the Post is taking this from someone who wrote it in The Athletic. Yeah. He missed 5 games with what the team labeled a wrist sprain. This information was revealed in a feature on embattled Mavs GM Nico Harrison, who executed the deal and is painted as a 52-year-old who values secrecy and is a notorious nutrition devotee.
Oh, really?
Despite not being in peak shape, Doncic was averaging 28 points, 7.5 boards, and 7.5 assists before he was sent to L.A. in a package that brought back Anthony Davis and some other assets. At the time of the alleged injury, the Mavs public relations team said that Doncic received an MRI and a wrist sprain was determined to be the official injury. But according to this report, they're basically saying is they wanted him to get in shape. Privately, Harrison felt Doncic's, quote, body would break down possibly sooner than anyone would suspect. He's caught a lot of heat.
Right.
The commissioner of the National Basketball Association actually had to address it during All-Star Weekend. Mm-hmm. They've been giving away free tickets. Fans have been protesting. They're bitter that people apparently, they call him a generational type player offensively, how they could trade him like that. And I understand, and you look at it on face value, it does look pretty crazy. The idea that if they got Davis, the Harrison guy said, the GM said, look, defense wins championships. And they thought you get Davis, who's a good defensive player, and then with their other two big guys, they do have two other offensive players that certainly don't put the ball in the hole as often as Doncic, but they do have Kyrie and the other Splash brother. So I'm assuming, and then if you add in, if they really do believe that the guy doesn't really have a work ethic to stay in shape and he could break down and he's had some injuries, maybe the trade is defensible. The one thing I will say, though, is this idea that everybody has to look like Adonis isn't always. No. There are many. I mean, even look at a guy like the Joker. Mm-hmm. He's not like built and looks just, he's big, he's tall, but he's not a muscle brown freak by any stretch of the imagination. If you just saw him walking down the street, you'd think if you said, what do you think that guy does for a living? You'd say, well, he's probably works for a moving company.
Right.
He moves,
lifts heavy things.
Yeah, he lifts heavy things or runs a jackhammer out in 494. He doesn't look like the best player in the NBA. Your thoughts on maybe the injury really wasn't an injury. It was more they wanted him to get in shape.
I think it's probably a combination of things. I think they realized Doncic, we saw him hit the wall against the Celtics in the NBA Finals last year after, having a wonderful series against Minnesota where he hit clutch shot after clutch shot. And basically, along with Kyrie, of course, took care of Minnesota. And although the Wolves had, have to regurgitate all that, they had plenty of chances here at home in a couple of games to win that series and to win, certainly extend it to the 7 games. But I've never seen a team have a franchise have a worse couple of weeks than the Dallas Mavericks have gone through. And they have 2 other guys, I think they're both hurt, Giffords and Lively, who are also, athletic and, not unlike Doncic, who's got a myriad of different skills, but are in shape. And then, of course, they trade for Anthony Davis. He has one really phenomenal game, and then he gets hurt, and he's out for 2 months. I don't know if and when he's coming back.
Doncic, he may never play again.
Doncic has got the calf injuries. He's got, and when you watch him play, and I've watched him enough in person and certainly on the tube, you go, my God. It looks like he's just really laboring to get back down court, to hang in there. But then you watch all the things he can do with the basketball, and his skill level is off the charts. So that's why you think, well, yeah, I understand why, with the Lakers wanting him, even though they now don't have a big man, if Anthony Davis was healthy enough, and then they get the other injuries, and their assistant coach just got arrested for battery, I think. It's just been one thing after another in a short period of time where it looked like this team, I don't think is even going to make the postseason. So I don't know what to say, how to address, unless you're on the inside to understand what kind of shape Doncic was in. And, I don't think he's going to change his body. I'm sure there's a tendency sometimes among some of these guys to go, okay, well, I fell short winning the championship. I'm going to work twice as hard this offseason to make sure we get in that position again. Or I've made so much damn money and I know what the level I'm at. I'm only 25 years old. I can roll out of bed and average 25 points a game. I don't know where he's at with what he does with his workouts. I'm not going to sit here and judge that. We're not there to watch him. But
I know one thing, he's not working with the fitness king.
No, he's definitely
like
not.
You are. But you look. Okay. I'm going to say something. You look in better shape now at 75.
I'm not 75.
73 than you did at 45.
Well,
I always love that one.
I've looked at pictures and I don't tend to disagree. Although there's certain things that
maybe
that hurt,
Dallas needs to trade for the fitness king.
Hurt a lot more, as you know. It takes you longer to recover.
What if Dallas signs the fitness king?
A lot of them. Listen, there's the amount of money that teams now spend on physical fitness, nutrition. I've seen what the Vikings setup is. I'm not as familiar with the Timberwolves as it used to be, but these guys have, literally have the Mayo Clinic downtown as their workout area.
Yeah.
They have every advantage in the world.
I can understand why you're not as familiar with the Timberwolves, facility work, obviously, because it's a long walk from the Lexus Club over to their facility, so you just don't get over there very often.
No, I really don't.
I can understand that. This is how high tech the Vikings are. Did I tell you this just happened last week?
What's that?
Not only do they have a hot tub and a cold tub, but they now have a lukewarm tub.
No,
yeah, they've got them all now, so they've added everything. Yeah. Hot tub, cold tub, and a lukewarm.
They put that in after their performance against Detroit.
Yeah, it was lukewarm at best.
Definitely lukewarm.
We'll take our final break, and then when we come back, pitchers and catchers have reported. Full squads are there. Have they started playing games yet?
No. I think this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend they'll start playing games. And let's talk a little Twins baseball on the other side of the break. He's Mark Rosen, Common, and Brett Blakemore here on The Fan.
Now.
Pass, Common Man Program. I'm Common. He's Brett Blakemore. Mark Rosen here. Our final segment of the day. Tomorrow, 10 to be will be back. We don't start until 1. The Ben Johnson Show at 12 noon.
And they got a game tonight.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah. West Coast.
And then Mark Rosen will join us again at 2 o'clock. And also Preposterous Statement Tournament results and pairings at 1:30. Your Twins club, everybody's reported. I looked at I think it was Fish Wrap Factory West that said projecting the Twins opening day roster.
Right.
You could take last year's roster, take out 2 names and add 2 more, and you got the team. They want to, you talk about running it. Remember when we thought running it back? The Twins are running it back, that's for sure. They're going to run it back.
Point well taken. And,
I saw Lavelle the other day. He likes this team and thinks they're going to be really good. And I had to ask him, do you really believe that, or do you just want? Is that what your readership wants to hear? Because that's what he accused me of. Once.
Well, when you talk about the Twins, and the limited resources they have and the talent from top to bottom, I think their everyday lineup is absolutely, and their pitching staff is good enough to win this division. Now, I'm saying, is that saying a lot? Yeah, yes and no. They could have won it last year. But when you talk about the Twins, the inevitable conversation at some point, sooner than later, turns to key injuries that sideline the guys that you have to count on in order for them to win their division. And you know the names by now because they, as you said, they haven't changed. I know there was a big piece in the paper, West Side, this morning about their different approach to hitting this year. New hitting coach. They have the situational hitting. They're taking more live BP. They're hitting. Rocco wants them to get more at bats in spring training.
Something I've been suggesting they do for the past 5 years.
I know.
Oh, isn't that funny?
And it's interesting. One of the stats they had was they had 50 games last year in which they scored 2 or fewer runs. 50. So unless you're
because they're trying to hit home, remember
unless you're Garrett Cole and you're spinning it up there, throwing 7 shutout innings, you're probably not going to win many of those games. So that has to change, obviously. But more importantly, you got to keep a healthy and productive, Buxton, Correa, and Royce Lewis in that lineup. Those are the 3 key guys. The rest of them are players that will contribute here and there. Jeffries, and the rest of the names by now. Even the Julians of the world. I don't know, but and then get their starting staff, which is good enough to win this division. I don't know what Cleveland's done during this offseason to rally around the the Guardians. Keep old habits. The Tigers, Kansas City's got Bobby Witt. They got a nice team at times, and the White Sox were absolutely pathetic last year. I'm sure they'll make some. You'd like to think they can't get any worse, but yeah, of course, it's a division that you can win if you stay healthy and get the most out of those players. But so the fact that they haven't made any major changes doesn't surprise any of us. but it also doesn't mean that they can't win the division. But if that's your goal, great. Does that mean you can match up against the Yankees or the team in the West? No. Come October, no, it doesn't. Of course, because they rarely do. They won once.
Yeah. What do you?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm a baseball fan. I'm not. That's never going to change. And of course,
you're a ball guy. You always have been.
I'm not one. I think we've had and we will continue to have that discussion 1,000 times about where does a game sit in the hierarchy of interest in fans. And we got a day like this, and the weather's going to get nice. And as soon as the weather turns and people in this state in particular find 1,000 things to do outside in the summertime because the season's relatively short. Going to a ball game, for some it's high entertainment. I think the attendance fell off last year, and rightfully so. They had the TV debacle last year. Now there's a whole different way of watching the team this year. If you're so inclined to even sit in on a nice Tuesday night to spend a couple hours or duck in and out to watch the team on TV. But again, it's up to them to give you a reason to watch them. And if you're not playing exciting baseball or interesting baseball, if you're playing 50 games, you can't score more than 2 runs. A hard pass.
Unless you win a lot of 2-1 ball games, then I'm okay with it. See, I'm more of a pitching guy than
I understand.
I don't mind. I don't mind low output on offense, but if it's because of if you remember, was it after they won the first playoff series ever 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. At the end of the season, they said we're not changing our stripes. We're going to try to strike people out and swing for the fences. Right. They said it, and I was like, you can't be serious, can you? No. Just because that's not the way baseball's supposed to be played. Now, as you just mentioned, the Fish Wrap Factory, they got they got rid of their this is the scapegoats. Apparently, they're hitting coaches from last year. They were rehired.
Right, they were rehired elsewhere.
It pointed out in the story they were rehired quickly, so it wasn't like but they wanted a different approach. So they got the guy who used to be with Baltimore,
and he coached a lot of these guys in the minors,
in the minor leagues, and they're working on. I mean, think about it. It's like the idea that they weren't doing this. I never knew that all of these guys spent their batting practice hitting into a net. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's like you got to go out to in the middle of winter. I guess if you're playing golf, you can sit in a dome and hit balls. But you got to go out to a driving range and see the flight of the ball and where it goes and hit knockdown, punch, cut, fade, draws. You don't just sit and hit into a net. What are they doing hitting in? No wonder because all they're trying to do is hit it as hard as they're trying to swing for a home run every single time. And now somebody's finally taken my advice with that club and saying, whoa, we don't do that here. We have to have situational baseball.
Yeah, you read Ryan Jeffers' quote.
What did he say?
He said, quote, when you do hit on the field, there's a little more of an emphasis on moving the ball around the field, not just hitting homers to the pull side. Homers are great. Homers get you paid. A lot of big games are won by homers. But there are going to be a lot of games where a single through the 4-hole is going to score a run when it matters. I think practicing how you hope to play sometimes is good.
They don't.
Does that just dawn on them?
Obvious. I don't even know if I blame the players so much because I think that has been what this franchise has hung their hat on. Ever since they had the Bomba Squad, they thought that's the way to do it. And home runs are cool. They put people. That's what people like to see. I guess to me, it's no different than the slam dunk. I mean, it's impressive to see somebody launch a ball out of the park. But that doesn't.
But when you got old school guys, and I've been down there, as you know, much to your chagrin, too many times. I mean, many, many, many times in Fort Myers. I watched the alumni. They have their back again. Rod Cruz turning 80 this October. He works with these guys on bunting, one of the greatest bunters of all time. Tony Oliva's down there, one of the greatest hitters of all time. I think Mauer's going to be spending time down there. They have Morneau is down there right now. Mauer, I think, is going to be going down there. These are the guys they should be listening to as well. I mean, the coaching, they have to be, the same messaging has to be there from Rocco Baldelli to the alumni who might be here for a few weeks to work on exactly what these guys are talking about. It's like, honestly, you're shaking your head. You're going, they just realized this? You don't have Murder's Row.
But you heard what Jeffers said.
Yeah.
Home runs are how you get paid.
At 100%. And which to me is just, if that's what you're judged on, if that's what ownership and general managers, the people that are going to sign players are saying, well, we don't care if you're a good fielder. We don't care if you can execute the hit and run. We don't care if you can double anybody. How many home runs can you hit? If that's all you're counting on, I think you're just doomed. It makes no sense to me. Especially in close games.
And that's why, remember, I think the rule change that they made, the most ridiculous rule change ever was taking away the shift, where they said you must have two people on the left side of second base and two people on the right side. And the only reason they made that, well, they felt sorry for the guys that could only hit it to one side of the field, because they just go, well, guess what? This guy can't hit it anywhere except between second and first base. So put all your guys over there. He's going to ground it every time. And it's like, so these guys start whining and complaining. Well, it's because you're just trying to hit a home run down the right field, out in the right field, because you're a left-handed hitter. All you can do is hit to right field, and you're trying to hit it over the fence. Maybe you should learn to hit it because I guarantee you, if in the first week of the season they're shifting you, and you go 8 for 10 by hitting it to the left side of the infield where nobody is, they'll stop shifting you. That's how quick it'll end.
No one enjoys golf more than you do, and there are many times you put yourself in a position in the rough or whatever. You have to hit a shot that you always talk about
a knockdown punch, cut fade. Yeah.
Well, you have to have a variety of ways of getting that golf ball in position so you don't hit it in the woods. Otherwise we're just going, I can't do that. I can't hit it right.
No, I can't hit it cut. I can't hit a draw. All I can do is try to hit it straight, and if it doesn't go straight, then I'm doomed.
Correct. That seems like the same philosophy almost.
It looks like Paddock is going to get an opportunity to be one of the starting pitchers, according to
if he's healthy enough.
Yeah, and he's proven he's a big league pitcher, and if he stays healthy, it seems like he's had more than one surgery. I don't have the notes in front of me right now. But
bunch of those guys that go through it's the testing ground, and you hope that they're healthy, and you want, look, I'm seeing nothing. Listen, I love to see Paddock do it. The guy I'm keeping an eye on, of course, is Joe Ryan. I mean, he's coming back from an injury. He's so important to this rotation because I like his sassy attitude out there and his kind of screw you kind of approach to throwing a baseball. And I think they need that attitude to be more permeated through the Twins rotation. But yeah, they got the bodies, they got the relief pitchers. I mean, they got a great setup man in Griffin Jacks and Duran and Alcala, whatever his name, and they got bodies that can hold a lead, but you got to score more than 2 runs.
You excited about Thursday night?
The hockey game?
Yeah, biggest game since Miracle on Ice. Well, it is. It's the biggest game. I didn't say it's bigger than Miracle on Ice. I said it's the biggest game since Miracle on Ice. Well,
I don't know. I think Stanley Cup Finals are. This is turning into something because of the fighting and what went on at the beginning of the game. I mean, listen, all the credit in the world.
These two teams don't like each other much.
Well, even though they're teammates, as soon as the game is over, half those guys on the Canadian team are going to be teammates with half the guys on the American team.
Well, there's that.
But kudos to the NHL for figuring out how to make something interesting that the NBA has yet to figure out with that debacle of an All-Star weekend that they had, where people are going to go, I'd rather. Yes, I mean it, and as much as I think that was ridiculous, I think you may have a repeat tomorrow night in Boston. Of all cities, of all arenas to play in, with this fever pitch of what's going to be happening for a game that is basically was just made up out of thin air.
Will you be watching?
Yes, I will be watching. But you see how seriously these players are taking it. That is for sure. And it's interesting because Thursday night is the 45th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. 45 years ago.
And
that was a little different because those players, from Russia were not going to the NHL for a few more years after that. Tretiak, all the players that were offensive machines for Russia didn't make it to the NHL for a while.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference for you. You'll be locked in Thursday watching that hockey game, United States against Canada. I'll be watching Animal Planet.
Yeah.
You know what this episode is?
No.
Sex life of the South African aardvark.
Well,
Yeah, baby.
that could be fascinating.
It is to see how
Right.
the animal kingdom procreates, to see how they live day in, day out. I got hooked on it over the weekend. I was watching
Really? Is it X-rated?
No, they don't actually show the mating in progress.
I don't know.
They just show the two of them
smiling.
dating.
Oh, okay.
And
Dating
then all
courtship.
of a sudden, then they show
Right.
the baby.
Oh, there's a baby.
And there is.
Well, that's
They were showing. What was weird is it was Southeast Asia. It was the episode I was watching. So they showed hippos mating and elephants
So
mating.
you'll be watching that.
and
That's on the
baboons
animal?
mating in bright, vivid color. Next thing you know, they're showing pandas and it's in black and white, and I don't understand why.
oh my God. I don't even know what to say to you anymore.
I got to do a shout out to Nick with Aquarius. He came into my house at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and I had to fix my furnace.
Wow.
My furnace went out. My wife goes, "Does this seem cold in here?" I go, "That's just because you keep the thermostat way down." I walk over there, it's down to like 67, and we usually have it at about 68. So I go, I go downstairs, it's not working. Start calling. Just like that, Nick comes over, fixed it, signed up for
Nice
continuous-
going.
Yeah, it was really
Hey,
good.
I mentioned to you during one of the commercial breaks, and I know because you do Dylan duets and everything. I finally saw the movie yesterday, A Complete Unknown. Man, was that good.
Really?
I got so excited watching Timothy Chalamet's performance as Bob Dylan, and it was mesmerizing. I went ahead last night and bought tickets for his appearance in Mankato.
When's he going to be in Cato?
April 4th, I think it is. Yeah.
Legendary Cato Ballroom?
No, the Civic Center, whatever. I think the Civic Center.
Why wouldn't he work the legendary Cato Ballroom?
Well, probably because they could sell enough tickets there.
He don't need the money.
Oh, I don't think it's that.
He doesn't do it for the money.
No, but 83 years old. But I'm just. It was really.
I finally
well done.
figured out why these guys like Jagger and Dylan keep going, because
What's that?
they're like me. They don't like the idea of getting old.
No one does.
No. Well,
You're
I used to
saying
never,
also-
it used to
no,
never
you-
bother me very much, but
Well-
now it's like, and so they just want to keep going and go because they know that they got more behind them than ahead of them, and it's almost over.
Yeah, you want to stay relevant and keep energized.
I don't even know if they want to stay.
I think it's energized.
Part of it, yeah, I think
for
energized.
me, it's just being energized.
I think that's what it is. I don't think it's so much staying relevant. Their place in history is
more of the security.
Yeah, and so I think it's like well, I just want to sit at home and then take a nap and play bingo and curl up and die.
it's,
I'm going to go out
100%.
with a bang, is what they're going to do. I've seen Dylan a couple times. I saw him the very first time I saw him at the State Fair.
Wow.
Didn't have a great seat for it because I was kind of over on the right. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong. I say a lot of things that I don't know much about anything. But I thought he was like, at the time, he didn't want to be up on the big screens.
Okay.
He didn't allow the screens to be. So I could only see
him.
Dylan, see him.
Yeah.
I could have swore that's what it was.
Probably
Then the
was.
other time I saw him, one of the best concerts I ever saw, Canterbury Park, Bob Dylan and Paul Simon
Yeah,
together. I mean, that's just spectacular.
I just read that after
two
Paul
legends.
Paul Simon's performance opening up SNL the other night. He's going to start touring again. I think another one.
Well, he's really had trouble recording and playing because I think it's one of his ears is basically there's no hearing in it. He has a lot of trouble with it.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, but he's probably
Legends.
doing the same thing. He's going, it's almost over. I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to hear the applause one more time. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, we're done already.
That's it. That was fun.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You'll be back tomorrow at
I will.
2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Brett, thanks for filling in for Tennessee. Great job. Thanks for having me.
Hey, great job today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Truly, I do. Tomorrow we start at 1. Ben Johnson Show, 12 to 1. Tennessee will be back, and then Mark Rosen will join us at 2. We certainly enjoyed our visit. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. But stick around. Big Ticket and JG, they're next right here on The Fan.
Good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.